What's up, beautiful people? Today I want to look at John Mayer's easiest guitar solos and explain why they're a lot more difficult than you think. And we're going to use this as a template to really look at some of the more important things about musicality, the nuance that you could hear that really takes a musician to the next level. And how I like to think about this is what I see as like the musical pyramid of greatness. Let's call it that, the musical pyramid of greatness, right? So at the bottom of the pyramid, you have pitch. Right? Every single person at the beginning of learning music, the first thing they go is, what's the right note? What's the right note to play this song? What's the right scale? Am I in the right key? Everyone starts there. So you got the biggest group right there. And then the next level is rhythm. Now rhythm, we all got a general grasp of it in the beginning, but it gets a little bit more advanced, right? Are my downbeats together? Are my upbeats together? Do I have that right feel? Am I really locking in with everything? It's a little bit more ambiguous compared to pitch, right? So it's more difficult to get to that next level, especially with more advanced sounds, right? And then the final thing at the top of it, the least amount of people get here is dynamics. And we can put a couple of things in there too, like dynamics, feel, basically anything else, but let's just kind of stick it around there. And that's like the last point where all the greats have that going on. Not only are they in key, in tune, not only are they in rhythm and have a good feel, but they have that dynamic and that tone. Actually, that's what I think I want to put in there, dynamics and tone. Those two things. Because they kind of go hand in hand, and they're both just subjective and unquantifiable. And it really just comes down to a great performer who can do that. So I want to look at these handful of solos here from the Continuum album and look at just their simplicity, but their complexity with the nuance and just the beautifulness that he throws in there.
Testing me.
So the first solo I want to look at is Vultures, and it's pretty simple actually, right? It's in F sharp minor. We can use the F sharp minor pentatonic scale. And he's really just doing these bluesy type things, right? These little, but that's like, he's not just doing bends here and there. He's not just doing a whole step bend or half step bend. He's doing these bends kind of in between, and it's really just nuanced in the way that he bends it, like... It's great. It's great. And I love one of the beginning parts in the solo where he bends it. But that next bend, he's not like bending from, let's say, the 14th fret. It's a pre-bend, right? It's like bending and it's pre-bend, right? So it's really, what is it? It goes. And just like that little bit right there, there's so much character to that. So little things like that really, really just make it more interesting, right? And another thing about this song that I love, I would guarantee that 9 out of 10 of y'all are playing it too fast, right? It's so laid back and just like pulled back, like you really got to feel it. And there's something to that. There's a lot of magic to that. So playing the solo too fast is I don't know, my kind of first instinct without thinking like, okay, what song is this? Where's the groove? Let me, sit in with it. Don't just solo, right? Groove, feel it, right? So. And like that bend right there, it's kind of, I can't even like really say what it is. You just gotta like kind of feel it and be like, okay, it's like a half step, right? But it's got this, this little bit to it, man, those dynamics. Then a little rake right there to really just like punctuate that note. What was that other one? Just like that whole step. Yeah, like a whole step. So those are just like a handful of those little things that I really like about this.
Oh, twice as much.
Now the main thing about gravity is just like the big slides, right? We're sliding minor thirds. We're sliding, I don't know, what's the big one from 12 to 17? We just want to get used to these big slides for the most part with this song. And playing at the slower tempo and catching that feel and making sure that we're not picking too hard or too soft. Just really aware of the attack and the dynamics that we're bringing to the guitar. So that first lick. All right, we just gotta get ready for that. And what's that other big one? Oh man. So there's these big bends, or sorry, slides, and you just want to practice them. Like if you're intermediate and you already are comfortable with sliding on the guitar and everything, you probably most of the time you're doing half step or whole step slides. So with this, it's really just pentatonic scale. A little bit there. So just kind of practice that, give it a couple of tries, and lock that in. Lock in those big slides, and then you'll have it down. And that's just that's the gist of it. I guess the other kind of thing about this one is those half step or the bends, but the first one's a half step bend. The next one's a whole step. So you really want to get those. You want to get those locked in and make sure you're hitting the correct notes, right? Now for Belief, it's a little bit more upbeat, a little bit more like blues rock, whatever, high energy. So nuance is a little bit less here, and dynamics as well, because we just want it to be energy in your face and all that. So when I think about this solo, it's more about just like the groove and the chicka 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 chicka, like that one right there. Like we want it to groove. And for this last lick too, man, there's so much in it. We don't play like it's right. You kind of cut it off, and just that little bend on the what is that, 13th fret. Yeah. So you want to pay attention to that. When does the note end? When does it begin? All those little details really bring out a certain type of groove and a feel. It's not. So you can even mess with it yourself. This is part of just what I want you to think about, right? It's not what he did, but it's okay. Those are things to think about, right? How am I playing these notes? How many ways can I play those four notes, right? And that's what's going to make you more interesting and more unique and just more three-dimensional as a musician and a performer. Now the last one, and probably I would argue the most popular solo of his, at least recorded, I would think, is the one for I Don't Trust Myself with Loving You, right? And this one, man, yeah, there's so much nuance, so much going on. I'd say the really hard part is playing nicely with your fingers, especially if you don't do that very often, and getting that again, that groove and that feel, right? like, yeah, staying in the pocket with that. And another thing I like about this one is, again, like the variation that you do with just like little things. So with that first lick, he slides in and out of that A. Then the second time, he grabs it twice. And then for that bend right there, it's not just a bend. It's a bend, release, and just a little bit more, like a quarter or something. You know. I like that one too. Does like a, what do we got? The 8th fret, bend up a half step, pre-bend. What I would really do with this one to really lock it in a little bit better, and I certainly need to get better at it. My fingers aren't that great, and I'm trying to improve on that. So what I would do, like this, like that right there. I put on my metronome. See where my metronome's at? 2. Let's see if I can hit it from the top. 1, 2, 3. See right there, I want to hit it. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Ultimately, the final takeaway is, what are all the details that you could think about? So when I was younger and trying to figure all this out, like, I didn't even know what questions to ask, right? In terms of, why do I sound bad? How can I be better, right? So the answer is, ask every question. What's every question you could think of in terms of how you're approaching the guitar, right? So with these solos, just like a starting point is, where are you sliding from and to, right? So like in Gravity, am I sliding from the 12th fret to the 17th fret? Like, be specific. Don't just randomly do it. Am I exactly doing that? Where am I bending to? Is it a half step bend? Is it a whole step bend? Is it a quarter? Is it somewhere in between, which is obviously way more complicated, but that's where we're trying to get to, right? That's where the top tier is at and all that. So exactly where are you bending to? How hard are you attacking the note? Is it too hard or too soft? Is it uneven with all the other ones? Where is your dynamics in terms of that? Vibrato. Where are you using that vibrato? On that note, on this note? Should you be using it on that one? Should you just be playing the phrase and doing vibrato at the end? If you're trying to learn a solo, where's the vibrato? If you're playing yourself, where do you want that vibrato? Be intentional about that vibrato. And also, what's the rhythm of your vibrato? Are you actually playing with the song, with the music? Is it in time? Does it sound nice? Is it thought out and intentional? Again, intentionality is everything. If it's a nice slow blues, are you going like a fast one? I don't know. But think about that. Is that actually what you want to do? And do you think it sounds nice? And if you're having trouble with a phrase, if you're having trouble with a phrase, technically speaking, what fingers are you using? The number one thing that I always see is, if you're using different fingers every single time, well, that's just problem one, right? Especially if you're having trouble with it. Like, if you're really good and you're playing the phrase great, but you're using different, okay, whatever, I don't care. But if you're having trouble with the phrase and you're using different fingers every time, that's just like number one, fix that. Figure out exactly, decide what fingers you're using, use them, and then everything else, you can start thinking about that, right? But just get everything mechanically situated, consistent, and then the musicality can be considered after that, right? And then also, when it comes to phrases, where's your groove? Where's your pocket? Are you actually in with it? You know, rhythm's one thing. Groove and pocket is another thing a little bit. So almost like a more advanced way of looking at the rhythm, specifically in context of the song and all the players and instrumentation around there, right? All right, and then also finally with rhythm, it's not just where it starts, right? It's where it ends, and that creates a lot of things too. What's a quarter note? What's a whole note, right? A quarter note is one beat, not 98% of a beat or 75% of a beat, which also kind of affects feel too. But think about that, right? Are your notes connected or are they not? And then when it comes to actually staying in rhythm and hitting the front part of the beat, let's say, think about like milestones. What's the most important beat in any song? I would argue the first beat, right? Especially like the first beat of a section or something, if it changes, right? You don't want to play a note or a chord too early when it's about to change, right? You want to get right on there on the first beat. So the first beat's probably important. So if you're trying to work through some kind of part, practice it. Where's that first beat? Is that in time? Okay, cool. What's next? Maybe the downbeats. Are all my downbeats hitting? If I'm practicing with a metronome, am I flamming? Like, am I right off it? How do I connect it? And then upbeats. And then I'm starting to really, really lock it in and be right there with the rhythm. Then I can think about more advanced things like the groove and the other instruments as well. So that's just like the majority, if not all, well, it's all I could think of right now, of things that you want to think about to just bring in everything together and questions that you want to ask to make you a better player. Okay? So here we go. Now, that's all I got. Now, what I want you to do is, jam with this stuff, man. What I actually did is I used a stem splitter technology, AI, whatever, to take out the solos from these tracks right here. And then I'm going to put them up on my Patreon so you could try and jam over them too and solo with them. And it's actually important to do this like this because you can't just jam with the track over his guitar and everything because you can't hear yourself, right? You could hear if you're like kind of on the right track and anything, but you can't hear everything that we're talking about right here. All the nuance, everything that you're actually playing, you can't hear that. You don't know if you sound good. So you want to play without that guitar. You want to play it like this and really be like, okay, ask all these questions and be like, all right, are we there? Am I not? Okay, what am I missing there? Is my fingering right? Is my dynamic right? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, cool. Then I can work on it, make it sound better and better and better. And it's all about that nuance, making it sound real good. And even better yet, you could take these solos and make your own thing, right? You could just jam with it, use it inspiration, and jam over it and create your own John Mayer's song solo, whatever, I don't know. But do that. Get down with it. I love this stuff. It's so good. What else? I got the tabs too. I'll tab all this stuff out. I mean, I already tabbed it out, but I'm going to drop that for you on my Patreon as well. So that's all I got. Keep jamming and stay nasty.